Hey guys, it's my throat, man. Uh, Welcome to Pro Wrestling Classic Chat. Except it's not a chat; it's a video. But this is my channel. Um, this is gonna be my part two of two and final series for Ric Flair. I'm gonna be honest about this, about how I feel about doing my review on Ric Flair before I get started. First of all, Ric Flair is not my favorite wrestler. I cannot satisfy everybody, right? You're gonna have some Ric Flair fans. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say Ric Flair is my favorite fan. I think I did. I was watching NWA or WCW. They were asking people on the street, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" Yeah, okay. There was people that said Ric Flair. Okay, my bad. But he is not my favorite wrestler. Great Muta is my favorite wrestler. So you might be asking me, you probably ask me, "Hey Alberto, why are you doing a video on Ric Flair then?" I'm doing a video on him because you cannot do, because I have a wrestling channel. I do videos. I cannot be doing this if I'm not gonna cover the most popular wrestlers. Hulk Hogan too. I don't like it. I don't like his ass either. Excuse my French. That guy don't know how to wrestle. But this is not a video about Hulk Hogan. I'll get into that maybe some other time. I don't even want to do a video on that guy. So I need to go over the most popular. To go over, to me, I want to go through the history of things, and you cannot go through the history of wrestling without over the most popular wrestlers, whether you like them or not. So now you know how I feel about it. You know, I may not talk about passion about it, but the thing is, he makes a great heel. He can talk. He can talk. I think I'm biased about it because I was for the good guys for a lot. I'm like, come on, I want people to be Ric Flair. We know Ric Flair for a long time. He would go for like seven at the least a year without getting beat for his world title. He was a world title for I don't know what 13, 14 times. I don't know. I really don't care, but I know it's in the teens, something like that. Oh, anyway, so I need to get that out of the way before I start this my review on Ric Flair. All right, let's get started. I did like the way he kind of talked though. I'm a kiss dealing, wheeling, stealing, limousine driving son of a gun. You see, because it's not that because you like Ric Flair, you see him all the time. Hey, because I watch wrestling all the time. And I guess part of me you wanted to see the good guys beat up Ric Flair and take his title away because he was champion for months and months and months. So, anyways, let's get started. I had left off on my first video. Let's just go back. I already had talked about Ric Flair. How he started. He started with AWA. Started the camp with Ken Patera, the Iron Sheik, and there was like a Billy Robinson. I think his name is a shooter. He started off in the Rams, the airplane crash. He started off in some matches. He started off fat or really huge or muscles, whatever you want to call it. Go look it up, man. It's really interesting. I had heard about him being big at one time. I went to go look it up. I found some matches. Go look it up on YouTube. Go to Ric Flair as a first. I don't remember exactly, but it's Ric Flair's first television match. We went over Ric Flair, the airplane crash. He got his back broken in 3 or 4 places, something like that. Him coming back his return. Um, Ric Flair becoming well. Johnny Valentine was injured in that plane crash along with Ric Flair. I heard through the grapevine that he was supposed to be Ric Flair's tag team partner, but no, they got Greg, his son, Johnny Valentine's son, Greg the Hammer Valentine, to become Ric Flair's tag team, and they both would trade titles with with Ole and Gene Anderson, the original Minnesota Wrecking Crew. We went over I think Flair facing a lot, going through all these wrestlers. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, a young Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which he says that he went in the second camp in the AWA with Virgin Gardenia after Ric Flair. There's a fun fact for you. Wahoo McDaniel, Blackjack Mulligan, the huge dude. Remember we went over he would do that flying back elbow, which I saw him do twice in the 70s. Ric Flair defeating Dusty Rhodes for his first title run. Ric Flair facing, I believe he beat Kerry Von Erich at the WCCW Star Wars for the NWA title. Ric Flair, he gained the title back from Kerry Von Erich, I believe, in Japan. And then we went to Flair for the gold. Harley Race puts a bounty on Flair because Flair's after his title. The bounty, there's wrestlers going after him, and they failed to take out Ric Flair. And Ric Flair does make it to, I don't know if it's a star cage, but it's a steel cage match against Harley Race. Ric Flair, we went over that match. Flair defeats Harley Race for the NWA title. I think it's his third reign, and that's where we ended off. And that's where we're gonna start off. We're gonna continue after that. I'm just like, again, I can't go over all the matches. There's way too many, and if I go try to go, if I bet you anything, I could go an hour on this. I ain't gonna go an hour on this because y'all are gonna fall asleep. I don't want y'all to fall asleep. I'm just gonna go over the matches that come to mind, or maybe the biggest matches I can think of, and I'll just be spitballing. Some of them will be small too, because I've seen, I would go after tapes, even to not really watch Ric Flair. For example, like I said before, I would watch wrestling, like starting like '89 night. I had just watched WWE wrestling, whatever. I kind of like WWE wrestling, but that's because that's all it was at NBC Saturday Night. Remember that? But the first time I started learning about the NWA is I would see, I didn't have cable then, but I would have channels that show the Road Warriors coming on their motorcycles, and Ric Flair, and I don't know what. I think they were selling tapes, and I was like, wow, I wish I had that channel. I want to see NWA. It looks way better. I've heard of the Road Warriors. I would rather see that than WWE. I'll watch it, or it was called WWF at the time. I'll watch WWF, but I want to watch I want to watch the Road Warriors. It looks way cooler than WWF, and it was. I finally got I guess it was our NWA transition to WCW, and I finally started. I was like, wow. WCW, I prefer NWA wrestling because finally I got tapes to watch it, and finally got cable, and they were giving WCW, but sometimes they get flashback matches from the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions. I'm getting lost here, so let's just get started. Let's get started where we left off. Ric Flair defeats Harley Race for the NWA title, which was a big thing. He wins. He only wins at this. All the wrestlers go greet him and hey, give him a handshake, whatever. Which usually they did back then. They would all get into the cage and congratulate Ric Flair and have him talk on the mic and stuff. So Ric Flair defeats the legendary Harley Race in a steel cage match. So let me correct myself. The legendary Harley Race, which he had won. He's no slouch either. He has that devastating headbutt, and has won the world title like 6 or 7 times. So I think not too long after that, Ric Flair, he's gonna wrestle matches, and then he's gonna go be a horseman. That infamous thing with Arn Anderson, where they had one day in an NWA Jim Crockett Promotions. They needed to get their interview time individually. Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, and Ric Flair. Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson became a tag team. Tully may have been the TV champion already. Ric Flair, more like was a champion. He was always usually the champion. They need to get their interview time, but they put them together, and then they're talking, and then they get to Arn Anderson, and Arn Anderson is like, we are the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and that's where they're like, people are like, you stumbled on something or saying that, and they became the stable of the four horsemen. So it's really gonna change stuff. They become a gang. It looks like I guess a stable. You could call them a gang, whatever you want to call them. They were known to interfering on Ric Flair's matches. Oh my gosh, I'm already in 11 minutes. Wow. Well, anyways, the Horsemen were into intervening in Ric Flair's matches. The first match, and their enemies are gonna be like Dusty Rhodes, Ron Garvin, a whole bunch of others, Warriors. But the main ones are like, let me start again: Dusty Rhodes, Ron Garvin, LOD, the Legion of Doom, Magnum TA, and a host of others. But those are the main ones. There's too many. Ric Flair does wrestle Dusty Rhodes. I guess I'll start with him. I'm not gonna go in order. I'm just gonna. So Ric Flair goes with Dusty Rhodes. I'll try to go in order, but you never know. I might miss something or whatever. But let's go. And I did see that match. I don't remember if I saw all of it, but I remember the last part. Now this is amazing from what it's happening. Because at the end of I will talk about the end of the match between Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. This is the match where it's rare. It is rare where you have somebody wrestling Ric Flair, right? In this case, Dusty Rhodes, and the four horsemen get it. They attack the ring. They're going to try and save Rick from losing his world championship to Dusty. They see he's in trouble. They get in the ring or something. They intervene, and Dusty Rhodes fights them off, and at the same time fights off both of them. And at the same time, he beats Rick. He finds a way to pin Ric Flair for the belt with interference. And I'm saying that because when I saw this match, this is I saw this on tape, so this was a long time ago, even for me at that time. And I was like, hey, every time they intervene in Ric Flair in the 90s, which I was seeing at the time, this is in the 90s when I saw that match in the 80s on tape or something. You with me so far? So I'm like, hey, every time in the 90s in WCW, they interfere in Ric Flair's match, they end up beating up the guy and saving Ric Flair's hide. That would always happen. The same thing. They would always stop them. Anybody that's beating up Ric Flair, they would intervene and stop him, beat him up, and save. And Ric Flair would keep his belt out of disqualification. So I'm like, wow. I went back. I'm like, wow. They let Dusty Rhodes actually beat Ric Flair with interference from the Horsemen. He actually fought him off and at the same time pinned Ric Flair. Like, wow. I'm like, yeah, wow. But the other thing I have to mention is I know during that match, they Dusty Rhodes wins the belt, but like the next day or the next week they take it out, they take the belt off him. I think because of interference or something. It wasn't even his guy's interference. It was Ric Flair's Horseman interfering. I'm like, that sucks. And they hold up the belt, and I don't know what happened after that. So that was a turnoff. Ric Flair's champion again, and the next one I could think about, like that was a, it's a big match, but not that big. He goes in a feud with Ron Garvin. Oh my gosh, it is hilarious. I did see the part, and it is on Ric Flair's DVD set, which I do have. I just don't know where it's at. Where Ric Flair's insulting Magnum. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Magnum T. I'll get that in a little bit. Oh, anyways, let's get started with a Flair and Ron Garvin feud. I know there's on some TV tapings that Ric Flair's insulting Ron Garvin. They wrestle and stuff. Ron Garvin beats him up, something like that. But then you get to the match where I believe it's a cage match, and we'll talk about that match. So Flair's the champion. Ron Garvin is the number one contender. They wrestle. I did see that match. Same, a lot of same old stuff. Except this is. I know Ric Flair always does his chop. Woo! Same thing. Woo! Chopping Ron Garvin, but Ron Garvin chops him hard. And Ron Garvin, I don't think it's the tallest guy ever, but he's bulk. I did not know, but he's Canadian too. Not that there's anything wrong with it. But he starts chopping Flair with his hands, his front chops. There's gonna be suplexes. There's gonna be like headlocks, same old stuff. But I read a Ric Flair. No, I saw a video of Ric Flair, and they asked him, "Whose chops are more devastating, Wahoo McDaniel's or Ron Garvin?" And then I believe Flair said Ron Garvin. Yeah, 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 I believe so. Okay, I'm trying to think back. And then I heard Jim Cornette say that Ric Flair before the match, he put on some antibiotic ointment or something or cream or something to get started on the healing because he knows Ron Garvin was gonna chop the hell out of him. So he knows Ron Garvin's chopping him hard. And not to put down Wahoo McDaniel's chops, he chops pretty hard too. They have said. Ron Garvin gets to do his Garvin stomp. That's when he slams Ric Flair to the floor, or Ric Flair's on the floor or something, and he starts. Ric Flair's like this, and then Ron Garvin starts stomping on his wrists, his legs, his feet, whatever, his thighs, everywhere. That's the Garvin stomp. Okay. Oh, remember they call Ron Garvin the hands of stone. So they're chopping each other the hell of the match. I think at one point Flair gets up on the cage and then falls down and falls on the ropes. Ha ha ha. His private area or middle falls on his legs dangling and hell, and he falls off and then I think that's close to the end of the match, and then Ron Garvin pins Ric Flair. And Ron Garvin's a new champion. I know that not too long from there, I don't know, a month or two. Ron Garvin only keeps a belt for a month or two. Then Ric Flair wins the title back from Ron Garvin. The one I didn't get to see is Dick Murdoch. I know Ric Flair's horseman. Dick Murdoch wants a shot at Flair's belt. And they show the horseman. I don't know, some girl with a. Excuse me. That was an African American girl. What's her name? She used to be with. Dick Slater, I think. Midnight or something. No, it wasn't midnight. It was later on. I forgot. Anyways, I forgot her name. That's what I was thinking. I'm just spitballing her. No, but now, okay. I was talking about Magnum TA. Ric Flair's gonna feud with Magnum TA. Fun fact for you: Magnum TA is one of men's. I just have to say it. I mean, it has nothing to do with Ric Flair. Remember the I have to. Magnum TA has a really good match. I quit match with Tully Blanchard in the steel cage. But let's talk about Magnum TA and Flair. There's a really cool clip, man, in Flair's videos. It's a a Nature Boy 3 disc collection set or something like that. I have one. I heard there's a lot more. But there they have the video. It's adorable, man. Flair is making fun of Magnum TA because Magnum TA he looks like Tom Selleck. Remember Magnum PI? You guys are around my age. Saying that Magnum TA just rides motorcycles and doesn't dress properly. He's just in his blue jeans and his leather jackets and such. Ric Flair's like, I went on my tailor, my personal tailor, and we got you the best suit ever. And like, actually, it's real cheap. That is true. And it's during a TV taping. Ric Flair goes to the podium where the announcer is, and Magnum's at. And then Magnum's looking at the suit. That is really good quality. And he goes to the middle of the ring and he tears up the suit. And then he belly to belly suplexes Ric Flair and pins Ric Flair or something like that. No. I don't know if he pins him, but I think he does pin him. I don't remember, but that's funny stuff. And then I love how the audience, a lot of them, they from the NWA days, they laugh like little kids. I guess there's kids or teenagers, and they're really cute laughs, man. They're really adorable. And you can hear them because there's not that many people at the NWA TV tapings. I don't know if that's the one or there's another one where Magnum TA bets $1,000 he could pin Ric Flair or something like that, and he does pin him. Many had said that afterwards, or Magnum was already, he was going to be the next NWA champion, but he gets in from what I read, in a car accident. I thought he got in a motorcycle accident because they would show him in motorcycles and scenes in NWA, but according to Wikipedia, it says a car accident or WCW. I don't remember, but that's what I remember. That was a car accident, and Magnum TA gets hurt, injured so bad that it ended his career. And good thing he didn't die. Then later on he come out and he come out on like pay-per-views and helping out and stuff, and usually WCW. I think one time they showed him after the accident. He has he's walking to the ring or something. His hand is messed up, and Dusty walking him to the ring or something like that. Ric Flair has notable matches. I mean, he's wrestled so many people. I'm just gonna say the ones I remember. When Ricky Steamboat comes back, Steamboat was in WWE, I believe. Who's the other person? A whole bunch. Nikita. The ones I remember is like Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare. I'd like to do a review on him. That'd be cool. I didn't see that match, but the Road Warriors. Oh, he's wrestled so many. I can't. Let's just go to the ones I remember. One versus Road Warrior, Animal, Hawk. I don't remember those matches. I did see them. I don't remember them. But I think I remember they overpowered the crap out of Flair. Like he didn't get anything on it. And I think he lost all those matches to disqualification. I don't think he beat any Road Warrior. I don't think the Road Warriors are gonna let him beat him. The feud with Ricky Morton, Horseman versus Ricky Morton, Flair and his thugs, the Horsemen, they would tag team with they would tag team to face the Rock and Roll Express. Um, I just remember it now. I'm gonna tell you right now, but I remember that they took the Rock and Roll Express back and they started rubbing Ricky Morton's head in the concrete. And they beat up Robert Gibson. Do you remember that? And then I know I saw a match when Ricky Morton had a face covering because they had messed up his face during that concrete incident or that fight. And Ricky Morton would wrestle Ric Flair. Now know this: there is a video out where Ricky Morton has said that. To me, I was like, okay, it's just other people to beat up. No, but check this out. There's a video out there. Look for it with Ricky Morton on it, and Ricky Morton not only says he beat Ric Flair for the title at least for one day, and he lost it the next. At least he beat Ric Flair for the title, but he has a picture. And he does show you the picture of him with a world title, the big one. I think it's a big one. I don't remember if it was a small. I remember the big title, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's a small NWA title. There's like two of them. Remember the huge NWA title, and then they had the small one. What I can tell you is what I remember about the small one. Ric Flair had the small belt with NWA belt when he beat Harley Race. That I do remember. After that, somewhere along the lines, they changed it to the big NWA title belt. So I don't think if you go to Wikipedia and you look up Ricky Morty, I don't think it's listed there. It should be listed Ricky Morton World Champion, but I don't think they cared about it with Wikipedia because you can't really trust Wikipedia all the time. But I think it's because Ricky Morton only held it for one day. It should be NWA recognized, but I don't know if it is or not. That's a good question to ask Ricky Morton. Is it, because sometimes wrestlers win some belts, whatever, but sometimes it's not recognized by the NWA or WWE for whatever reasons. Just like Chris Benoit, the tragic thing what happened with Chris Benoit, they don't even want to recognize that guy anymore because he killed his wife and his kid. All right, we could get to the Ric Flair versus Steamboat. Let's see if I remember that match. I believe it's Eddie Gilbert. He's feuding with Ric Flair and Barry Windham. That the Horsemen, they kick out Ole Anderson. Now they have Barry Windham. Well, actually, they had Lex Luger, but now they have Barry Windham. I think it's around that time. So Eddie Gilbert is feuding with Flair and the Horsemen. I think he's gonna bring a special guest wrestler to battle Flair and Wyndham in a battle match. Like they don't like each other, and it turns out it's Ricky Steamboat. So they have the match: Gilbert and Steamboat versus Ric Flair and Wyndham, and I believe the match is going on, but at the end it is Ricky Steamboat that jumps off the top rope and lands on Flair for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Which to me is amazing at the time because I had never seen Ric Flair get pinned in a match. Maybe the last time Ric Flair really got pinned in a match that I could probably think of is probably versus the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, Gene and Ole Anderson, which I don't have any info of that, but I would think that'd be the only time he would get pinned because I know Valentine and Flair have lost to the Minnesota Wrecking Crew with Gene and Ole. Because I know they trade the belts back and forth. They feud for a while. But the title's not on the line because it's a tag team match. And then Steamboat, he goes on to pin Ric Flair. And those guys are going to be wrestling a long time too. Same thing. Chops and all that. And I believe when Steamboat beats Flair, I think it's just a simple roll up at the end of the match. But it goes a long time. And then Ric Flair wins his title back from Steamboat. Other notable matches, I think the one I forgot was Jimmy Garvin, Ron Garvin's nephew, or I don't know what. or son-in-law. I don't know, something like that. He has a cage match with Flair. I saw that match. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. A lot of these matches I don't have. I would have to run them at a Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster? So let's go with Flair. He has gotten his title back from Steamboat. Flair starts defending his title against Lex Luger. I remember some of those matches. I remember seeing them. It's the same thing. Going outside, Luger trying to beat up Flair. Flair chopping him. Luger just punching him. And Flair ends up. He defends his title against Luger. I don't know. Maybe sometimes a Horseman go. I know he wrestled Lex Luger several times in some pay-per-views and Clash of Champions or whatever. Lex Luger was a Horseman, but he's now out of the Horseman. I think they beat him up too. And then that's where we're gonna get to with Sting. Ric Flair starts wrestling Sting, and at the most notable, Ric Flair makes Sting's career by wrestling him at a Clash of the Champions. Oh my gosh, everybody knows about that one. Ric Flair wrestles Sting. Same old thing. Ric Flair chopping Sting. And it is mentioned, Sting has said in another video, like, hey, when I wrestled Ric Flair, my chest was like chopped up like hamburger meat. I was I was breathing so hard. He goes like that. Notable match because some of the cast of the Wonder Years are there. The sister and the brother of Kevin Arnold, they're there. Jason Hervey, is that her name? His name, and I don't remember the girl's name, but I think she's a sister. I don't recognize her, the sister, that much because I didn't recognize her for those years and years. I was like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? And she had her hair different, but I believe she's the sister of Kevin Arnold from the Wonder Years. And also noted the third person there is Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver, but he's already older. That's the match where they say that, and I talk about it in my Sting review, that I don't know if it's exaggerated, but they say that during that match, Sting throws Ric Flair over all those three people. It's hard to believe because when you see the match, it looks like maybe they threw him to the side of it. They didn't throw him over it. I mean, that would have probably killed Flair because as I remember, there was no mats out there, and there was definitely gonna be no mats like thrown like over them. If it was concrete, that would have killed Flair maybe. I don't know. I've seen crazier things though. What I forget I mentioned on my Sting video, I'll mention here. It's funny, and I wish I had mentioned in my other video, Sting video. But this match ends with. I mean, it's a good match and everything. I just don't remember too much about it. Just the same old chops, Sting going like this and whatever. And I mean, it's a good match. It really is. I just don't have time to watch everything. I'm just a busy guy. But what I can tell you, what I do remember is, I think Ric Flair's white hair is like, I think he's bleeding, and then Sting gets him in a Scorpion Deathlock, and then Ric Flair looks like a Muppet. He's so funny. He's moving like this, and his hair is moving everywhere. And there's a countdown that the match is gonna end. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ric Flair does not win. Sting drops his legs. And I remember at the end it has like a circle thing that Flair retains the title. Whatever. He can't be the winner. It's a draw. This is a draw. Let's see other notable matches. Before I forget, Ric Flair. I'm trying to remember when he goes to the WWE. It's going to be around this time or a little bit after. Oh, we can't forget about the Black Scorpion. Remember the Black Scorpion? Sting. There's this guy coming out that's saying like in a montage or I don't know what coming out in a black screen during WCW Sting. I am the Black Scorpion and I don't know what. And it turns out to be, and then they even have these guys come out in masks. There's this guy with a chiseled body but with a mask on. And they say it's a Black Scorpion and Sting is wrestling somebody. And then Sting gets a hold of the Black Scorpion, but it turns out there's another one. Later on, to just go through all the pizzazz or whatever, it ends up being Flair. Flair says it's a joke. Everybody knows it's him. They can tell by his body when because the Black Scorpion is gonna wrestle Sting in a cage match. Sting, I am your father. I'm surprised they didn't say that. But they haven't set up. Sting's gonna wrestle the Black Scorpion in a match. No, you know what? Doesn't Sting wrestle Black Scorpion in a match, a regular match? Sting beats him, and then there's another Black Scorpion. I think that's the way it went. And then they said he's gonna wrestle Black Scorpion again. It's a cage match, and then everybody says they could tell that the Black Scorpion, but they could tell it's Ric Flair's body. And yes, Sting Sting wrestles the Black Scorpion, but he's chopping like Flair, doing the same moves. Everybody knows it's him. Flair does say it's a joke. Sting unmasks Flair and beats him for the 1, 2, 3, and there goes the whole Black Scorpion thing. Flair goes to WWE. I think he oh my gosh, he goes into the. I hate talking about WWE. I don't like talking about it, but I have to talk about his career, and I will keep saying that every time I have to talk about WWE. Ric Flair does go to the WWE Royal Rumble. He does win it. He's at the end with Sid Vicious, known but AK Sid Justice in WWE. Hulk Hogan. They're supposed to beat up Ric Flair at the end, but Hogan and Justice get into a bickering thing, and that helps Ric Flair throw all of them out. Whatever. No, but that I did see that. That was like the best Royal Rumble ever. Not to say I like WWE, but and Ric Flair's. I remember Ric Flair during that conference. They're Mean Gene Okerlund is interviewing him, and do you all remember that? This is a very little thing, but I always remember. I'm very sensitive to these things, but Mean Gene tells one of the reporters, "Hey, put out that lighter." Remember that? That's if you saw that Royal Rumble when Ric Flair won it all. And with Bobby Brainy Heenan and the coaching of Kurt Hennig. And I don't want to get too much into that because I'm into WWE, but I know Ric Flair wrestles Macho Man for the world title. I believe it's around that time. Wrestles Bret Hart, and then I don't know if this is the time where because Ric Flair goes twice, but this is the first time. He probably even went more, 2 or 3 times. But Ric Flair wrestles these people. I think he wrestles Shawn Michaels, a host of others. Then Ric Flair wrestles Perfect for whoever loses is gonna leave the company, and Flair loses, and Ric Flair loses, and he loses a match and a stipulation he's supposed to leave, so he leaves, and where he's gonna go? Back to WCW, and he's like, I'm back. He's back in WCW. Ric Flair left because he didn't like Jim Herd, the pizza guy, or they say he used to be mayor. I want to say mayor of Pizza Hut. No, he used to be a manager, Pizza Hut guy, whatever. And nobody liked Jim Herd. I think I fired him, and Ric Flair comes back. Ric Flair wrestles a lot of people. He gets reunited with the Horsemen. There's a match with probably before this, Ric Flair and Terry Funk. Oh, I'll get into that right now. I'll backtrack a little bit. Ric Flair and Terry Funk versus I'm sorry, the Great Muta and Terry Funk. Something Tex Corporation with Gary Hart, versus Flair and Sting. Go watch that. That's Halloween Havoc. This is before where I'm at. Also, I can mention. Let me backtrack. During the Flair Steamboat feud, um, that's when Ric Flair gets his title back from Steamboat. Terry Funk starts talking to Ric Flair during after the match. Hey, what's up? And then Ric Flair says, I'm not gonna respect you because you're too busy shaking hands with Sylvester Stallone and you're out there with Hollywood and all that. And then that's when Terry Funk's like, what? And he cheap shots Ric Flair or something and apologizes on the on the table. And I think Ric Flair said it really messed up his neck somewhat. But Ric Flair was able to he was able to recover. Go look for it and see if they have it. I think they do have it on YouTube or something or on the internet. Ric Flair, the match because of that, the revenge match. It's I Quit match between Ric Flair and Terry Funk. I believe it's called New York Knockout. I have to remember. It's a good match. It's a funny match. Terry Funk's ex funny, man. They freaking hit him. I remember Ric Flair hits him or something, and I think it's a no disqualification I Quit match. Yeah, it's an I Quit match for sure, but yeah, I think it's no disqualification. They can fight anywhere. They hit, I think Terry Funk in that one. Terry Funk goes, Flair throws him sliding on the table. Looks funny. I think they hit Ric Flair. Ric Flair hits Terry Funk so hard or something that you see freaking Terry Funk gets hit and he starts crawling like a mole. Looks really funny. Go watch it, man. It's very entertaining. Yeah, it's called New York Ric Flair versus Terry Funk I Quit match. New York Knockout. And I think it's a clash. It has to be a Clash of the Champions because I saw it. Pay-per-views I couldn't see because I didn't know money to pay for them. All right, let's get back to. We were at Ric Flair comes back or something. Comes back with a horseman. Um, I think we're about to get to a time where he's gonna, Hogan's gonna come back and Steamboat and all that. I do want to mention that Ric Flair does. He he gets with Arn Anderson, or he's still with the Horseman, and he has a talk show, Flair for the Gold, and then the Hollywood Blondes come out. Excuse me, trying to clear my throat. That's some funny stuff, man. Stunning Steve Austin is AKA Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Hollywood Blondes I'm talking about is Stunning Steve Austin with Flying Brian Pillman. They're on Flair's show. They make fun of Flair and Anderson bad. They say, hey Flair, I like this set. We've been around. We've been around sets all over the world. How much? And there Flair said is like, how much is that statue there? Yeah, Stunning Steve goes, how much is that statue there? And then Brian Pillman shows him like, hey, Steve, that's double A. They're calling double A Arn Anderson a statue. And they're making fun of Ric Flair's like, you have a match versus, and I remember too who they have a match. You have a match versus Douglas and Steamboat. Are you ready for the match? And then Flying Brian's like, we're gonna, and it was for a Legends reunion. They got the Legend reunion at that match of the Legends reunion. And then I like how Flying Brian says, we really don't care about Steamboat and Shane Douglas. We're gonna bring the Legends. That match, it's gonna be a hot cooked meal for them. But then they're asking Flair, when are you gonna come back? And when you come back with your robes, pterodactyl robes with the mothballs. I don't know what he means by mothballs, but it sounds funny. Double A gets mad, comes to the table they have it there at the Flair said on the table. He throws his glasses down. You guys, you're out of line. And then Ric Flair's like, hey, I want you guys to know when you come on my show, whatever. And then Stunning Steven Pilmer is still saying bad things at them. It's funny. I'm sorry, this is hilarious. It's so cute. And then they said something about, hey, Flair, when you're ready to come back, give us a Jerry call on us. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to know what it means. I looked it up. I can't find it. Y'all can comment to me if you see it. And if you're watching this, I'm surprised because we're already in 45 minutes. But I guess Ric Flair mad. He's getting mad. He's getting ticked. And then now Arn's going to. Hey, they have Fifi. Ric Flair's current girlfriend or whatever. I think they're still together. I hope they are because Ric Flair goes through women, his wives like more than he changes his underwear. I don't think I think YouTube will let that slide. I don't think he'll get in trouble. Hopefully not. So Fifi's in a maid's outfit. She's there for the show, and her and double A Arn Anderson are calming him down. Oh my gosh. I had that match. I'm a big fan of the Hollywood Blondes. I forgot to mention them in my videos. That's one of my favorite tag teams. Arn Anderson and Ric Flair are now going to wrestle the Hollywood Blondes. Before I get to the match, let me mention this. Oh my gosh, it's funny. Flying Brian and Stunny Steve, there they all go again. They're with the announcer. They get a big. They're making fun of Fifi. They get a maid that's fat, overweight. I'm sorry, not to insult anybody, but she's fat. She's overweight. What do you want me to say? She comes into the set, and I think it's Tony Schiavone there or something. And then she puts a flare for the old. And I remember she puts it on the wall on the set where Tony Schiavone was interviewing people. I think it's Tony Schiavone there. They get Flying Brian coming out with these old glasses, little K, and a gray wig. Oh, Stunning Steve's there, and because Flying Brian's portraying like he's old, like he's Ric Flair, and Stunning Steve plays himself. And then Flying Brian comes in with his cane. Oh, hi there. He came all making fun of Ric Flair. Oh, hi there. This is a Flair for the old. We're here in what's it called? Old home, like the old home paradise. Oh man. I'm just here hanging out and stuff and my dentures and everything. And Stunning Steve comes out. Hey, I think Flying Brian's interviewing Stunning Stevie or something. And then Flying Brian has the mic. I think Tony Schiavone just gave him the mic. And then Flying Brian's like, hey, Stunning Steve, I heard that you and so I don't remember exactly, but something like this in these lines. Hey, Stunning Steve, I heard you and Pillman have a really good match coming on. And then Stunning Steve's like, hey, well, the Hollywood Blondes. And he shoves Flying Brian Flying Brian pretending to be Ric Flair. And then Flying Brian pretending to be falling asleep. He shoves him once. And Stunning Steve's like, okay now. The Hollywood Blondes, and he's like, hey, she shoves Flying Brian, hey, like he's Ric Flair. Hey, wake up. And then Pillman's like Flair saying, all right, I gotta take my pills now. He goes, I can't open the bottle. Stunning Steve's like, Stunning Steve opens the bottle. He takes a whole bunch of pills. He opens Brian Pitt, aka Ric Flair, with the pills. He throws them in his mouth. Hey, here you go. All the pills go into pills. Like, oh, he's pretty big old Ric Flair. Oh yeah, don't worry. All those pills have a lot of vitamins and stuff. And then I don't know. I think after that, Double A and Ric Flair start fighting with Pillman. They interrupt and they start ruining the fun, and they start fighting with Pillman and and Stunning Steve, and I think the show ends there. So now let's get to the match. Now it's at another Clash of Champions, I think. Hollywood Blondes versus Ric Flair and Hollywood Blondes, Pillman and Steve and Stunning Steve versus Arn Anderson and Ric Flair. I could talk a little bit about that match. There's the parts I remember. It's more like the Horsemen beating the crap out of Stunning Steve and Pillman. Pillman and Steve get some momentum, whatever. But man, I think I see Ric Flair getting Stunning Steve by his mouth. That's one. The other thing I remember is Stunning Steve and Flying Brian have the advantage, being up on Arn Anderson during the match, and then Jesse Ventura says something. Flair and Anderson, they've been a lot. They're old or whatever. They're like vintage wine. They just get better with age, and then they're beating up Arn Anderson, and then Ventura says, "But right now, Arn's looking like a bottle of Ripple." Ventura for a color combination, super hilarious. And the Horsemen are about to beat up Flair, or Flair and Double A are about to beat up Pillman and Austin. But, and pit them for, I think for the belts. I think the belts are on the line, the tag team belts. Hollywood Blondes are the tag team belts. But Barry Windham comes and interferes. And Barry Windham starts fighting with Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, and it becomes a feud with especially Flair and Barry Windham. They start beating the crap out of each other. So now we got Ric Flair going after Barry Windham. On TV tapings or in the parking lot, I remember seeing Flair fighting Barry Windham. They're gonna wrestle a match. I'm not gonna get into too much about it. I'm hoping Barry Windham can beat Flair, but at that time I was young. I didn't really know, but I should have guessed. Ric Flair beats Barry Windham. There's a return match, and then Flair beats Barry Windham at a pay per view. I think I was able to see somehow. I think. Well, they showed it again later on, and that's that. And then I would like to note, I'm a Larry Zbyszko fan. I know a lot of people are not Larry Zbyszko fan. I like the way his commentary. I like how he wrestles. When he wants to wrestle, he could wrestle. But I think in WWE they didn't let him wrestle that much. He was getting beat up by Bruno Sammartino and I don't know who else. But I like the way he wrestles against Lord Steven Regal. Lord Steven Regal was a good. I shouldn't even get into this, but I'll just mention this and I'll go back to Flair. Lord Steven Regal has had matches with Larry Zbyszko, a lot of them, and Regal can really wrestle, and Larry, beat him and made him look bad. They trade off wins over the TV title, I think. But let's get back to Flair. But my point is I think Larry Zbyszko always said that Ric Flair was always dodging him. He didn't want to wrestle him. I don't know why. So that's one guy we could say that because Ric Flair's almost wrestled everybody, for the exception of Larry Zbyszko, and we should see who else. We should make a list of Ric Flair has not wrestled during his time. So Ric Flair's stopped his feud with Barry Windham, and then I'm gonna jump into where Ric Flair, man, I'm probably gonna go on an hour, man, doing this. It's a lot, I tell you. This is not even what I'm not even mentioning. Or what I'm forgetting. I'm going freestyle here. So Ric Flair after Barry Windham, I think he's gonna go. I think we're gonna get into the Hogan stuff, but at the same time, Hulk Hogan is rumored to come to WCW, trying to bring him in. Ric Flair at the same time wrestles Ricky Dragon Steamboat. Steamboat's back from another WWE hiatus. And I remember what I could tell you about. I'll tell you about this about Ric Flair and Steamboat this feud now, and Hulk Hogan's coming soon. I remember Ricky Steamboat beating somebody and beating him with a figure four. Ric Flair goes to him and says, Steamboat gets interviewed. Ric Flair comes in, and Ric Flair tells Steamboat, if you want me to show you how to do the figure four, you come to me, kid, and I'll show you how to do it. And then there's interviews with Steamboat saying, Ric Flair, you gotta stop talking about Hulk Hogan this and Hulk Hogan that, and think about wrestling me. The match I remember with Steamboat and Flair on that time, one of the main matches. Ric Flair beats Steamboat with a technicality, probably one of those suplexes things where they suplex and they're gonna count both their arms, but Ric Flair gets his arm up, and so they say that Steamboat has been pinned. Then we get to Ric Flair versus Hogan, probably like at a bash at a beach or something. Hogan finally comes and he beats Ric Flair. And then after that, we're gonna get into, I'm gonna skim this because it's a lot. Ric Flair gets to the NWO. The NW comes. Ric Flair's there. He's trying to beat Hollywood Hogan when he gets a chance. Horsemen are feuding. Horsemen with Ric Flair feuding with the NWO and a lot of stuff. We have the Nitro that came out. I think Ric Flair had the title at one time and he lost it to the Giant. And something about coffee being thrown in somebody's face, something like that. What else? When the Rick, it's kind of when the beginning when the NWO. I do remember Ric Flair. It's like not the NWO was only there for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something. And I remember them spray. There was a Horseman feud with the NWO. NWO beat up the Horseman, and then they spray some black paint over Ric Flair's head. NWO 6, also known as Sean Waltman, I think it's called, or 6 X 123 Kid, X Pac, whatever. He's there. They make fun of Flair. They have Flair in a casket. Some mannequin with a big nose. Or like pretty funny stuff. I remember the first War Games too. Let's see the first War Games. I think it was like Sting or something and some other people. They get the NWO beat them up. They outsmart them, and then the Horsemen have it next year. They have a shot at War Games with the NWO, and they bring in Mr. Perfect as a Horseman. So the Horsemen going to get NWO the second year, and then Kurt Hennig turns his back on Mr. Perfect. Kurt Hennig turns his back on Ric Flair and the Horsemen, and they beat up the Horsemen. And I remember Ric Flair, maybe it was at a Clash of Champions with a match with Hogan, and he claimed, he said that Ric Flair during that match had Hogan in the figure four. And he says, I heard him quit, but he didn't. Ric Flair didn't win because the referee was knocked out or something. The referee needs to hear Hogan say, I quit. And Ric Flair gets in a lot of matches in WCW too, till its ending. He gets involved with Vince Russo. I remember Ric Flair trying to help his son be a wrestler. There's one match where I think Ric Flair's wrestling in a cage and a whole bunch of blood fall. It's not even worth really talking about, man. That's when WCW's gonna die. Ric Flair goes to TNA. He gets with Immortal or something like that. I think he wrestles Hogan old. I remember seeing him wrestle Hogan in TNA old and stuff. They were like, they're too old to be wrestling. And he backtracked because I'm sure Ric Flair goes back to WWE. He becomes part of Evolution. I'm not going to get too much of that, but I know he becomes tag team partners with Batista. He has this farewell match or something with Shawn Michaels. That's when Shawn Michaels says, I'm sorry, and super kicks Ric Flair. Now I think Ric Flair is in TNA, and he joins Immortal or Fortune or whatever. He's there feuding with Sting sometimes with Hulk Hogan. And that's where Ric Flair's his career's in decline because he's just getting too old. I know in WWE they gave him a goodbye match or whatever, but he said, I'll never retire. and he drinks a beer or something with people, or with Stone Cold Steve Austin. But back to TNA, it just, I don't know. I saw the thing where he came out with Conan and AAA, and the wrestling in Mexico versus Charlotte Flair's some Hispanic guy. I forgot his name. That was okay. It was a match. Charlotte Flair's boyfriend, some Hispanic guy. Mm. And I hear later on Ric Flair's wrestled his last tag match or something like that. And I'm gonna end it there, man. I've already went an hour. I was trying to go 20 minutes. No way. And this is a whole bunch of stuff. I have not even gone over Ric Flair stuff, even when I forgot. I'm just spitballing here, and I went an hour over Ric Flair, and I can go. I could probably go more, but no. But finally, I finished this review. I don't know. I hope some of you guys see this entertaining. If you don't find this entertaining, I understand. It's hard for me to talk with passion about Ric Flair because I say it like again, he's not my favorite wrestler. I cannot wait to get to matches and wrestlers I really want to do, and I will talk passionate about them because these things just pop in my head. I ain't lying to you; they just pop in my head, and I'm like, that's a good idea, let's go for it. And I talk about passion about a match or a wrestler or something, and we'll get it going, man. But this was gonna be the one of that probably the along with Sting the hardest because they have the longest careers. Whose career is longer, Sting or Flair? There's a trivia question for you. Anyways, I'm gonna see if I have any other thoughts about Ric Flair. They say he's the greatest of all time. Entertaining ties, not really. Ole Anderson has talked about Ric Flair, saying he wrestles the same damn match every time. I do. He brings up a valid point. The chop to the chest, the hitting you like this, getting you in the headlock, hitting you like this, doing he runs and does the flippy move at the corner. It's funny when he's older, he can no longer do it anymore. He's like, I never retire, never retire. If anything, you could say that Ric Flair is like the most dedicated wrestler almost of all time. He's up there. Don't forget he's a stable with the Horsemen and Evolution. But look up the stuff with the Hollywood Blondes, man. It's hilarious. It's funny. If you like stupid stuff like me, and you like to laugh at stupid things, go watch it. Go watch Ric Flair feuding with the Horsemen, feuding with the Hollywood Blondes. You guys are probably not watching this, but I forgot to say like and subscribe. Subscribe and like. I don't know what else to say about Ric Flair, man. That's the only good thing I can really say about him. He's probably one of the, whether you hate him or love, he's one of the most, he's like probably the most dedicated wrestler of all time. He never wanted to quit. I don't know how many times, I never heard of him getting hurt, and I'm sure he has, but I never really heard of that. And the Horsemen are always hurting other people. All right, man. I think I've already went a long time. I think that's all I have to say about him. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Even though I doubt anybody's watching this, and if you're watching this, man, I hope you found me entertaining. Sometimes I don't think I don't, but to tell you the truth, I love to see my own videos. I'm my biggest fan, man. I might be my only fan. You guys are my peeps. You're my wrestling people. We need this channel to grow. I'm gonna try to get it to grow some way, somehow. I do have a lot of other channels. I don't care. I love all my channels. I love all my channels, especially this one. All right. So from Flair and me, I guess I'm gonna say this is Alberto, aka Destroyer 48. I will see you in the next video. And I love you guys, and I'll leave you with this. For God to love the world, He gave His own. Oh, I'm sorry, that's for my Jesus channel. I can't say that here. This is my wrestling channel, although I love Jesus Christ very much. But it's the world will never be a perfect place, but we can all make it better. Till next time, my name's Alberto, aka Destroyer 48. Till next time, I'll see you later. Peace. Love you guys. Bye.